Welcome back to the Anything GOE channel and our Going Into Detail series. I'm here with Maddie Schizas, the Canadian national champion. And Maddie, thanks so much for talking with me today.
Thanks for having me.
So how has your season been going so far? What would you say some of the highlights have been for you?
I think my season so far has been a little bit of up and down, but there's definitely been some good parts. I think on the whole, it's been an upward climb. From the first event of my year to now, it's been a real upward climb. Some of my highlights have just been putting out some good free skates. And the short was good from the beginning of the year. I was having strong short programs like from the first event, but the long took a little bit longer. So kind of finally getting that under control was definitely one of the bigger challenges and something I'm fairly proud of getting figured out this fall.
It seemed like it went well. How were you happy with it? It went at Golden Spin?
Yeah, I was. That event was like a tough one just because of the turnaround from Finland. I was only home for about 6 days. So just kind of getting organized to leave again right in the middle of midterms for me, or not midterms, right in the middle of finals for me was kind of a tough one, but I'm happy with how it went. The short wasn't perfect. I got, some really low levels, which was a bit of a wake-up call there. But the long, I was happy to put out a skate that was just, more in line with how I had trained again, like Finland. I was running really close to a clean program there and then just lost it in the last minute. But on the whole, I was happy with it.
Yeah, that's great. It definitely seems like with your first competition with Skate Canada, you had that wonderful short program and then a really tough free skate. And as you've been going, it's getting a little bit more on a more consistent, more predictable kind of a place.
Yeah, for sure. The short program at Skate Canada was great. It would have been close to a personal best if it weren't for the time violation I took. So I was really happy with that. I was really happy with how that short program went, but then just skating at the end of a Grand Prix free skate at home kind of got to me, I think. But I was able to kind of regroup and refocus for the next two events. It wasn't, I think I just needed to be more practiced with the long program a little bit, more practice with the full long. So I knew like getting out there that there was not like that my body was just going to do it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You mentioned at Skate Canada that you were surprised maybe about how difficult it had been to come back after the Olympic season and get back into the competition mode. Could you speak a little bit about what your experience has been coming after an Olympic cycle?
Yeah, the Olympic year, you don't realize how long it is and how like brutal doing that is until you do it. I thought it would be like, oh, like this will be fun, it'll be great. And it was fun, it was great, but like you get to the end of it and you're just tired because you've been traveling every 2 or 3 weeks since September. Like, I don't think I'd had a solid month at home since September. So you're just like coming off that and just a little bit tired. And so just kind of getting back and getting organized for a season. I did some shows, and then by the time that was done, it was like, oh gosh, like if we want to compete in August, we need to get started. And just, the realization that like, you don't have a couple of months to kind of rest. I think that was kind of a tough one to get back and moving. And I think you can see that in the women's discipline this year, that a lot of people did some shows and then had a hard time kind of getting back into the competition kind of mindset. You can see that on the Grand Prix this year with some of the skates people have had. So I don't think it was just me. I think it was kind of everybody. If you're coming off Olympics, it can be hard to kind of regroup, refocus, and get back into the competition mindset. And
you had that big goal of making the Olympics and trying to have skate and doing the team program, that team event there, which you did so well. Was it harder for you to set a goal for yourself coming into this season? Are you somebody who's very goal motivated, or how are you approaching that?
I'm goal motivated. I mean, like the obvious goal for this year was to kind of really make a mark, was to win some Grand Prix medals, was to qualify to finals. Which like now looking back, I'm like, those were doable things. I just didn't quite do them. there were some obvious goals, especially with, kind of an opening in the women's field this year. And so I definitely had goals. Like that wasn't the issue. I wasn't obviously coming off an Olympic gold medal. Then I can imagine it would be very difficult to come up with goals for yourself if that's what you're coming off of. But I still felt like, I had a lot ahead of me, a lot to do. Um, I think it's more just so the timing, like time gets away from you in the spring if you let it. And, it was my first time really doing that turnaround because the year before, all I'd done was Worlds. There was no season. There was just a world championship in March. And then, like, it's not that hard to rebound off of one competition. And then the year before that, we had COVID. And I was coming off a kind of half junior, senior season, anyways. So, like, that was last year was my first try at this. So just kind of, till you do it, you don't know how to do it, right?
Right. You did some shows with Stars on Ice. How was that experience?
That was super fun. I really enjoyed the couple of shows I did. Performing in front of an audience and without like the pressure of competing was just a lot of fun. I did Stars. I did a couple of club shows, and it just, the whole experience was fun. Just a different kind of performance, which was really nice.
Yeah, that's great. So for this season, you've got a short program to Black Swan and free skate to West Side Story. What made you choose those programs?
The free skate we chose early, kind of had this idea that we wanted to use West Side Story and we wanted to use because the new movie had come out. So I thought it'd be fun to use some of the music from the new movie, and I think I kind of look like the actors. That's what I've had some friends tell me that. So I was like, oh, like maybe this would be fun. And I like the music, and I like that they used the old music. They didn't try and do new stuff, which was nice. So we decided on that pretty quickly. Lance came in and choreographed it. It was straightforward. The short took a little bit longer, and it's normally the one we try and do first because like a good strong short program gets you really far. That one took a while because none of us could really agree on anything and we didn't really know. And eventually we landed on Black Swan, which at the time nobody was really thrilled with. It was like, oh, I guess we'll do a Black Swan program. I guess it will be fine. And it's actually turned out to be a really well received program. Like it's been very well received by judges and officials. Both have, but the short program has been very, very well received by judges and officials and panels. Even the level and the step has been, it was a well laid out program to get the levels and everything. So it's turned out really well.
That's great. And you worked with Asher Hill for that one?
Yeah, I worked with Asher. Honestly, when we picked it, nobody was really like thrilled with this program choice. It was just kind of like, oh, we're going to do a Black Swan program. Great. But it's turned out really well. I'm happy with it. Everyone's really happy with it now. We're looking at it now and we're like, oh, this is great. It could be a 2-year program. And I'm like, I knew it. I thought it was, this was my suggestion. I thought we should do a bird themed program. But yeah.
It seems like you do really well with character driven or like almost sort of narrative storytelling kinds of programs. I was thinking even your exhibition with the Deja Vu is kind of has that feeling of like you're telling the story with your skating.
Yeah, I've done those character driven programs. Honestly, since I was little, I've had like a number of them. I don't know why it's a good fit, but yeah, we have picked quite a few kind of character driven pieces because, I think I can do the basic pretty skating and I think I can do some fun skating and whatever. But just it's kind of a style that's worked. It wasn't the style we went with in last year in the Olympic year at all. We kind of, went safe with everything, but I think that it's a style that works. Even with Black Swan, I always say that I'm being a bird, not being a ballerina. Which I'm sure would get some backlash, but I'm always like, it's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to be, a prima ballerina here. I want to be like a bird. So kind of took a different narrative approach there.
I mean, I like that. You're doing Black Swan, you're not doing Swan Lake.
Yes.
You're already taking a somewhat different approach to it. And I think that's great especially with music that's been used a lot of times before, it's nice to have your own image of what you're trying to portray with it.
Yeah, we picked some different music cuts, like the piece in the middle. just because it's like, well, if we're not doing Black Swan, we're not doing Swan Lake, we're doing Black Swan already. So, to me, there's no rules like to how I want to lay this out. So we picked some different music cuts and I'm happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, no, it's great. I've been enjoying that program, and I think it's interesting to see because some people had in their mind what Caitlin Osmond's Black Swan was, and it's great to see that what you're doing is different, and like you can have that. There's like space for different interpretations and different skating.
Yeah, that came up when we were like briefly when this program when we were going to do it. Oh well, she did it, and it's like, well, okay, so everyone's done Black Swan. Like everybody has done Black Swan at some point in their career. So this is just going to be another one, right? Like it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, it's not like the idea of, skating to a war horse is something, new that nobody else is doing.
Yeah, if you're like borrowing someone's program, like, music cut for music cut, then sure, just think about that a little bit. But yeah, I'm like, war horses aren't really I don't think that you can really say that somebody owns them. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. What is a typical day like in training for you?
Normally with the training side of things, I'm kind of on the ice for 2 or 3 hours. And then there's some kind of, I'll do strength twice a week. I do some amount of conditioning work, like probably 3, 4, 5 days a week. There's an hour of some kind of off ice thrown in there, but 2 or 3 hours on the ice.
And do you work, do you divide up sessions working on different things or work with different coaches, or sort of how do you approach your time on the ice?
I try and come in with a plan. This is actually the conversation I had with my coach yesterday after my training day kind of got upended a little bit with, schedule changes and whatever. He's like, if you don't have a plan, this is what will happen to you. But I try and come in with a plan. Like today, I'm going to run long pieces, a short, and then spend some time on spins and choreography at the end of my day. I really do try and come in with a good plan and split it up like that. But does that always happen? No.
No, then of course, some days you probably come in thinking you're going to do one thing and then feel like actually something else is where you.
Yeah, you get told you're going to do something else. With the coaching and whatever, we're kind of, I don't know, want to say weird, but we do handle it differently. We don't really have lessons per se. It's like if you need attention, it's available to you. And that goes for everybody. We don't have a lesson schedule or whatever. So at this point, the last little bit, I've liked managing myself a little bit more. I'm like, I can manage myself for at least part of my day. And I like, having some of that time just to kind of reflect on what I'm doing on my own. But if I basically just try and come in with a plan for my 2, 3 sessions and then work from there.
And you've been with the same coach, Nancy Lamar, for quite a long time now. Do you feel like being with the same coach like that, you're also starting to have more of your own, I don't know, independence or, sense of what you need to accomplish, and then you can go to her for support when you need it? I assume that it must have changed somewhat over the years as to like how much direct coaching you end up getting from someone.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely, at a certain point, like you have to be able to self-coach a little bit, and I definitely can. I mean, she would tell you I've always been fairly independent and always been fairly uninterested in other people's opinions, which I would say is, not true, but okay. But no, I've always been very independent, but it's definitely changed in the sense that I'm much more able to manage myself now. I'm an adult. I can manage my own training to some extent. And so in that sense, the relationships definitely changed. There's less, hand-holding, less one-on-one coaching, but it's still great to be in the same training location with the same coaches. They know me really well. They know what I need and what I'm good at and what I like, even with picking programs and everything,
Mm-hmm.
They know what's going to work and not going to work. We're all on the same page on that one. So it definitely makes things easier.
Yeah, you've got that basis of trust and communication to go back to. For the upcoming competitions for your season. So your next thing is going to be Canadians. What are your goals and preparation looking like going into Canadians?
We have about 3 weeks left, including this week. There's about 3 weeks left until Canadians. So it's really just about continuing the training I've done all year. Part of going to Zagreb was just because I didn't really want a 6-week span between one event to another. Because I'm like, if I have 6 weeks, I am sure that I will spend 2 of them like being tired or not doing anything or whatever, like kind of coming down off the Grand Prix. And I was like, I really would rather just go compete, come back and have, 3 good weeks instead of a couple of wishy-washy weeks and then 3 good weeks. So we're just going to keep doing what we've been doing during the 3-week come down between my other events. I've consistently been getting better, so clearly it's been working. Just the good 3-week plan. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Yeah, feels like a comfortable rhythm. That makes sense.
Comfortable rhythm. The 3-4 week. I guess it'll be 4 weeks because I had last week too, but I was in new skates. So like that kind of 3-4 week come down, like ramp up kind of rhythm has been really comfortable. So we're just kind of try and keep with that.
New skates as in just new of the same type or new as in switching? Okay.
Yeah, new of the same type, just because the last skates, they aren't totaled, they're fine. But it's just, I knew, if we're trying to get to April, that's like 100 training days from now. That's going to be like a tough one to go for skates. It'll be close to a year at that point. So
yeah, better to make the switch when you have the time to make the adjustment.
Last week I was a little bit unsure. I'm like, will I be able to do it? But obviously this week it's been fine. I'm always a little sucky about doing new skates.
Yeah, no, that's something that always seems really challenging when you're so any like little nuance in how your skates are, how your blades are can feel so big that making that adjustment.
Yeah. I'm not that person. Like I've never been somebody who really cared about where my blades sit. Like that doesn't bother me. It's like when my feet hurt and like then I can't bend. I'm like, ooh, I don't like this. So I will like say I'm gonna switch skates and then end up not switching skates and skating the old ones for a couple more months. Like I've done that many times, but this time I'm like, I either have to commit or not commit. So doing a lot better this week.
Good. How do you deal with the mental side of competition and the sport? Do you work with a mental coach or how do you approach that side of it?
Yeah, I've always been a fairly strong competitor, I would say. For sure. I I don't really know how to say this question always trips me up because people at Olympics or whatever would ask, what do you do? And I'm like, I don't know, I just compete. I've always been kind of good at being in the moment is what I would say. Obviously there's mental skills to work on and lots of ways to approach things, but I think it's definitely been one of my strengths is the actual like competition in the moment kind of part of things. The day-to-day training definitely takes more effort for me. Can I do it? Yes. Does it take a lot more organization and planning and effort? Yes. However, the competition side of things was definitely the one that always came easier from the time I was a kid. I've always been a fairly strong competitor, a fairly, level-headed competitor. And even just when I get out there, I'll often say, I don't always like remember it well. I don't know if that's like, some people do, some people don't, but I'm always like, even if I don't remember it, I think that's part of being in the moment is that I'm good about if I'm well trained, I can just get out there and do it regardless of anything else. And you can kind of see that when I was younger, like when I was a new senior, people would talk about the pressure and whatever. And I was just always like good about like, I could get out there and just do it, whether or not I was really feeling like I wanted to. Like, oh, it's scary, but I could generally get out there and do it. So the actual competition side of things is actually one that I feel has come fairly naturally to me, which I'm grateful for.
That's great. Yeah, no, that's a real strength that it's interesting how, for different skaters we'll find, various parts of the rhythm of training and competition more challenging, but being able to naturally come into that place of being in the moment when you're competing is a real strength. Just switching a little bit to off the ice, you mentioned that you've got finals. So you're in university now, right?
I am in university. I have one final left that I am very much putting off doing. It's like a take-home 38-minute quiz that I really should just do, but I haven't yet. But yeah, I'm in university. I'm taking a mostly full course load, which is a choice, but I'm doing it. I enjoy school because I feel like, otherwise my brain, like I wouldn't be using my brain, all that much to like I like being challenged in that sense, and I like being in school. I always, have to some extent like enjoyed like the learning part of school if I didn't always enjoy the attending school part of school. So university is a good fit because you can have the social side for sure, but it's like totally separate from like the actual learning part of school. So I really do enjoy doing it.
That's great. And you go in, do you attend in person or online or mix?
I'm in person. I moved to close like to student housing this year in Hamilton, so where my school is, and I've enjoyed that a lot. Being close to school, being able to attend classes in person. Like I'll mostly be in school in the morning, and then I'll train in the afternoon, which is the same as I did in high school. But I'd been online for because of COVID since like halfway through 11th grade. So, we all got shoved online, and then I did a year of online high school and then a year of online university. And then, so this was my first year back in a classroom since I was about 16. So I was happy to be back, being back in a classroom. I was like, wow, this is nice. I like this. So
Yeah, that's great. And I've talked to a lot of skaters who have said that they really were glad to be doing something else, outside of skating that, uses a different part of your brain and just that helps you feel more balanced as a person.
yeah, for sure. There's no, I say like there's nothing wrong with not being in school. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm, negative about that because everyone's got different kind of priorities and different things they have to manage. But personally, like I think if I wasn't in school, I'd probably be losing my marbles a little bit. Like I definitely do need something else to be focused on and to be doing on the daily. So I'm very happy that I've stayed in school. I think otherwise I'd probably be, a little bit lost in all this, right? Like now, I can see kind of what I want to do when I'm done skating, and I can see, however many years from now that like I have an exit plan and I have kind of something to fall back on if I get injured. And like I think that helps me stay, a little bit more, it gives me perspective. And even just like, it doesn't feel like everything's on skating. Like if God forbid something happens, right, I have something else to fall back on, which I'm very grateful for.
What are you studying?
So I studied a year of urban planning, which I enjoyed quite a lot. It was a very good program. It was accredited at a different university than I'm at now, but then it just kind of dawned on me that there were so many required classes that it was going to take me forever to finish. I was like, it's a 5-year program already, and I'm a year behind now because I didn't take a required class, one of the required classes while I was competing at Olympics. And so I was like, okay, if I'm gonna keep skating, then I have to pick something else. So now I'm at a university closer to home, which is it's well known for the sciences. So right now I'm kind of in psychology and hoping to bridge into more natural sciences, like a BSc program. But I'm enjoying it. It's again a different thing. I hadn't looked at science since I had been in high school, so I'm enjoying kind of taking some of those prereq courses again, and just learning about some different things.
Yeah, is it more exploratory for you at this point, or do you have a sense of what you might want to use it for?
A little bit. It's a little bit exploratory. I'm technically in a kind of psych program right now that was open enrollment because just of the prereqs I had and the way my transfer worked, which is always not super fun. It's kind of exploratory. Like I'm taking a biology class the next term. Last term I took some communication studies and whatever else. I think I'm hoping to kind of transfer into, there's like a second kind of psychology at this school, which includes neuroscience and behavior. And so I'm kind of hoping to transfer into that because it's like, it's a very broad field. Like psychology isn't just talking about, humans, it's talking about like, animal behavior and coevolution and stuff. And that's kind of, I think, where my interest in this lies, but I'm not quite sure.
No, that sounds really interesting. Do you have your dog with you or still with your family?
I'm at home right now because of Christmas. So he is here. Should he come for a visit?
Oh, yes, please. I would love to meet.
Okay, I'll be one sec. I can see if he's available. Abby. Oh no. That's it. Okay, he's unfortunately unavailable, but
Okay, we'll survive, but
yeah, we will survive. It would have been cute though. He's a very good boy.
aw, he's a Cocker
He,
Spaniel, right?
he's a Cocker Spaniel. He's really cute. If anyone wants to see photos, there's lots on my Instagram. Lots available. But yeah, he's a good dog.
That's nice. Are you going to do anything special for the holidays with your family?
We did our family Christmas like 2 days ago on Sunday. So we often do it like a little bit in advance so everyone can travel if they want to see other sides of my family. So we did that. That was kind of our big Christmas thing. I'm gonna see some of my cousins who are home from school later this week too, which is nice. But that's kind of it for this year. A lot of my family is sort of far. Like my dad's family mostly lives in the US, which is like a 10-hour drive. So we were gonna skip that one this year, but because we saw them in the summer, but it's just gonna be a quiet Christmas, which is nice too.
Yeah, well, I hope you enjoy it and enjoy the rest and the rest of your training into Canadians, and we'll be rooting for you there and the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Maddie. Take care.